Hey, it's Dave too. It's been a while since I posted a video, but I've still been keeping up on remote viewing, doing projects. I'm working on that stuff with the Underground. And today I'm sharing my personal sessions for a collection of work that's about to come out. I think it's going to come out on Don's channel. David Powell just posted his today. And yeah, a couple of us did a session for that. So let's go over this. The project was called Project Marduk. The target was 77450131. It was that the viewer will know if in the solar system there is a celestial body that has caused havoc in the solar system in ancient times. If found, place yourself in the best space-time coordinates to describe the object, the orbit, and past events. If there is no such object, the viewer will only report the Oort asteroid cloud. Now, I may have described the asteroid cloud, or I may have described something else. I did 4 total sessions on it. So first session, I'll read it through the summary real quick. I did this on December 7th. I described a massive advanced structure resembling a squish cylinder or incomplete ring, approximately 2.28 miles in diameter. The target emitted a cold, vibrating, glossy black surface with ozone-like smells and metallic tastes. When I heard the ozone piece come through, I instantly was thinking that it had to be something extraterrestrial. And the whole session, all 4 of the sessions, I'm like running away from the conclusion that it is something extraterrestrial or space related. And that was kind of funny. There were metallic tastes evoking impressions of an energy vortex. It was very Stargate-like, a device manipulating high-dimensional physics to focus energy into a single point. The viewer noted a conceptual or theoretical precision akin to CAD designs. I mean, everything was so precise that it couldn't have been more theoretically precise. The precision was insane on the stuff. It was, if you've seen the granite pottery stuff that Uncharted X is sharing, it would put that to shame. Like, that would look like it wasn't very precise. There was an entity resembling this says like a light dog human, but I mean, it was just like this weird energetic being thing. I don't even know how to describe it. And I do dive into the creators of this device in the 3rd session, which we'll get into. The whole thing felt like it was off limits. There was this stealthy nature. All the other viewers kind of picked up on that as well. And there were these interdimensional impacts of what occurred from basically producing a lot of gravity. So the target felt both real and conceptual in nature, extremely advanced with extraterrestrial characteristics. And the whole thing left me feeling quite uneasy. There were loud humming sensations. The ring structure with like the direction of the energy reminded me of a Dyson fan, because that's kind of like what it looks like. And yeah, let's just get into, I had ChatGPT extract all of my S2 data. It's metallic. We kind of get all of it. And then it's also doing the intangibles now too. So I'm describing this vortex of energy, the ring. It was saying that its purpose is to extract energy and channel it to a single point. So in our call, we were talking about cymatics and how I had this other session where it's basically like there's all these rings of energy going. It's all converging on a point for amplification. And it was kind of saying that that's what was going on here. More stuff about precision, engineering, flow of energy, this vortex shape, comparison to Large Hadron Collider, massive amounts of energy producing this plasma-like point, trillions of particles hitting the same spot at the same time, and that kind of causes this big thing. One of the weird, interesting things is that even though we don't see any consequences of it in our 3rd dimension, it was saying that like it pushes out to this other spot where, you know, higher dimensionally, it is producing some sort of radioactive like waste. It's not that, but it's like something else. And there were ethical considerations there. When I first opened it up, it was a a ring like this right in front of me going around. I started interacting with it more. I don't know why the bottom was open, but there's energy was directed forward and down. So it was like it was all falling into this one point. And the precision of that point was just like the exact space and time. But if you think about how big this ring is, I was describing it as being several miles wide. And that's kind of just like a cross section of the ring. So diving into the second session, I sent it just to see if, like, am I even on target here? And I got 2 movement commands: moved into the best position in time and space to observe the target. And why is this our idea of stealth? And I'm going to share all 4 of the sessions raw after this in the video. If you want to listen, I'm probably not going to like whiteboard or something because I did everything here, but yeah. So this was focusing on like stealth, secrecy. Why was there this part? I got these temporal impressions of non-linear overlapping time of both the past and the future, and resembling a wave-like compression. I kept going back to the AOL. It was like an AOL drive of the Philadelphia experiment, where things were popping in and out of existence. And there's that movie, I still didn't look it up, but J.J. Abrams produced it, and it was released after the Super Bowl. But it was based off of like the Philadelphia experiment, but in space they did it. And yeah, I think that also had some sort of catastrophe going on in that too. There was a sense of like awe and raw power with this target, and had those high technological properties, futuristic, everything. Let's see if there's anything important in here. The jellyfish of time feeling, that wave compression, duality. It felt like a large cylindrical device similar to a Stargate, but it really was horizontal, not vertical. If we were just getting specific about it, it felt like a secret program, like there were some things like that. That was the S5 probably of the Philadelphia experiment. And there's this large electromagnetic field that got created. Yeah, it's pretty much a lot of the same stuff as the first session. I drew the field here, spherical energetic field emission. So that's the original image from the first session here. But in the center of that, it's propagating this field in all directions. That field was massive. It was huge. It was like the magnetic shield of the Earth, just on like a pretty massive scale. Then when I went to do the time probe of like, where is it? This is where I got this 3-dimensional, it was both past and it was future, both. And 1946 or something, I really was stuck on that AOL of the Philadelphia experiment. Then finally, I had this AOL flashy scene. And normally I wouldn't draw this, but David Powell Sessions, he has so much stuff going on that I was like, okay, this time I'm going to like try and dedicate some time to do some of the pictures. And I ended up drawing this. It shows the ring inside of a box. This was a crystal clear thing that was flashing. So normally I'm working in my proprioceptive space right here. It wasn't that. It was like another mental screen in my head that I was taking a look at. And I think, so it had like catwalks and looked very much like the room where the Stargate is in. And yeah, it had a lot of parallels to what the other viewers had in their sessions as well. Let's go on to the third session, which I submitted that, got more stuff. What did the creators of this technology do? I noticed that some of the stuff I was talking about was like anti-gravity propulsion. And there's that specific bell-shaped aircraft thing. I literally go to my DMs and there's someone saying like, take a look at this target, and sure enough, it's that, like right after the session. So I did note that. The creators that I got were conceptually represented as intellectual, evolved, with a deep focus on harnessing this energy, capable of producing like massive amounts of power, way surpassing nuclear. The technology generates a disruptive field with potentially catastrophic side effects compared to electromagnetic pulses or high intensity microwaves, while its application including powering cities, advanced transportation systems, and anti-gravity propulsion through negative mass, the field's unintended consequences raises concerns. That was a big thing, was the negative mass side, where there's this push and pull, this dynamic of two radically different things producing, just really messing with the fabric of reality in space and time. So there's contradictory data that was emerging about whether the field was good or whether it was harmful. And yeah. Let's see here. In the description of the creator, I went through and I did a conscious, is that what it's called? It's a mind map. It's from TDSRV, where you're like conscious condition, conscious thoughts, unconscious condition, unconscious thoughts. And I got that this creator person who showed up in a robe. It was awesome because the other viewers also got this robe-like thing. And then something I'm really excited to see in the comparisons in a video that will probably be posted at Don's channel is all of us drew, or there's multiple ones where like we all drew like the same sort of mountain thing with the same little mini mountain here, which reminds me of Mount Si and Little Si in North Bend, Washington, where I moved from. And that's over a plain. So if I go down to my transcript here, John Adams, he drew a great image of a face of a man that looked like an old Asian man with a curly mustache. So when I brought up my session and was going through this, I was like, there it is right there. The AOL, one of the big AOLs that I had right as I was starting the conscious map was of the Cypher podcast. They have the episode where there's like the cosmic suicide of a race of beings on Mars. All of us were hitting on something to do with some lost civilization on Mars, and that was the AOL that I had here. The condition of the creator person, that guy in the cloaky suit thing, was this level of mental clarity that just would put everything to shame. Like if you took Tesla or like the smartest people that we know of, who, you know what I mean? Like it surpassed all of that. But there was this thing where there was this fleeting thought of a race against time. Like they were running out of time to figure out how to do something with this technology that was going to save everything. And that really hits home with the Cypher podcast episode, with Don's channeling, with the sense that it's a cosmic catastrophe that's going on. And we got a lot of insight into what that's like. One of the AOLs I had was of this scene in Prometheus where, he's in a thing like this and there's a spaceship and the whole thing is, it's very end of times like. So that was probably a good one. Yeah, this really just dives into what they're trying to do. The purpose of this technology that they were trying to get was this energy harnessing technology. Let's see here. There's something to do with this device that produces something similar to like a Carrington style solar flare where, it knocks everything out. That's talking about the catastrophe. All of this was F-Zero, fully blind. Didn't know what I was really getting into or anything. This is where I may have gone off, may not have. I don't know, but it's talking about negative mass and all this stuff, like the effects of gravity. I think everybody's sessions talked about the impact of massive amounts of gravity. So that's pretty interesting. And yeah, last session was, can you probe that past and future event? So I'm still, this is fourth session. I'm still stuck on that Philadelphia experiment thing. There's some sort of device that's malfunctioning. I mentioned it like maybe off the Pacific Ocean or something. That's kind of what it described as. And David Powell and I both were mentioning that cold water and space can feel very similar. We all talk about the coldness. We all talk about floating. There's a lot of parallels in there. And this is probably like my worst session, which I'm not going to lie about. But yeah, there were like those weird manifestation time glitches, basically like Mandela effects. The J.J. Abrams movie based on the Philadelphia experiment really gets into those sort of glitches in the Matrix. And yeah, there's some profound and destructive potential event, a catastrophe, which is perfect. And this really went into that the facility that I was actually seeing in those flashes. And this brought it into my proprioceptive space, and I was taking a look at it. There were those temporal ripples, which was kind of catastrophic. Physical distortion fields stuck in that Philadelphia experiment. And yeah, let's just get into the pictures because that's the fun stuff. So we all were talking about it floating. I had this box that was underwater with these 4 things that were going above, and it felt like it was like that. Dark, wavy, cold liquid. Could be space. Could be that, like really was somewhere in an ocean. Could have been in an ocean on Mars. I don't know. This is a side view of it, and it looked like it was, there was this thin tube structure thing that seemed to be like propagating the energy out, and it was going in all directions. Now, from the top above this box, if you can picture like looking down at like a dark ocean, it was this cool flower looking bubbling thing that was like the bubbling of a Stargate looking down at it. I mean, it was crazy, and it was slightly submerged below the water. Then it showed that box again. I kind of had like a more abstract view of that, and the field going down with this. And there's this point where, all of this energy is coming down to this one specific spot. And it's like a particle accelerator, but in 3 dimensions. Instead of like hitting it horizontally, it's like a cone where like it all comes down and converges there. And it makes this big light thing, but all of this weird stuff is, the time and space dilations that's happening there. And then somewhere in the extraction of that energy, that's where it feels like there's this failure point, this bad thing that happens that was unintended. It's like an accident, and it caused a pretty catastrophic thing. And I just tried to locate it. I saw a coastline. I tried to like do like a map on Earth as I'm running away from the fact that this is, celestial in nature, and like it might be on Mars or whatever. I'm like, let's ground it back on Earth. But yeah, felt like there was liquid there, felt like there was a coastline, and felt like it was off of it. And I do feel like some of the other viewers had something very similar in that regard. So yeah, this was it was a doozy. There was a lot of stuff going on. And if you're interested, I'm going to share all 4 sessions here. Those will be following up. It's just my audio recordings. I probably will just put a Midjourney logo on there. So just listen to it at least 1.5x speed if you're interested. Otherwise, check out the group videos when they go, or I'll try and link to all the other viewers' sessions if they post their stuff here. So yeah, sorry it took 3.5 months to put another video in here. I have that other channel, The Underground, now, because really why I started posting videos was so I could get invited to do group projects like this. This is like the reason why I wanted to do that. And that's kind of what I've been often doing. But yeah, hope you enjoy it. And thanks for watching. This is Dave 2 on December 7th, 2024 at 6:37 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My doing target 7745-0131, 7745-0131. My PIs are, I've been going through like a lot of diet changes and stuff, so that's been kind of weird. Been sick lately. I was just outside. It was freaking cold, like 40 degrees Fahrenheit for you Europeans. And Jimmy passed away last night, so I've been thinking about that all day. That's a big emotional impact thing for me at the moment. So I'm going to give this a shot, even though I got a lot going on. I just did probably 15-minute cool down while I was resetting the lights in my room. Let's go. 77450131. 7731. AOL of Space Jam. And the ideogram was like this big, very fluid, but like this angled, intricate, swirly pattern thing that was kind of disc-like. AOL Rings of Saturn. There's something really big about it. Another AOL. Wow, that's 3 AOLs on a freaking ideogram. It reminds me of the Science Center in Seattle. Like that's what that thing is. It's an astronomy thing, like a stargazer thing. So that's pretty interesting. There's this nebulous feeling about it where it has this like homogeneous feeling because it's spread out over large distances or something is what it feels like. Let's turn this into a data packet, bringing it in front of me. Where are we going with this? And open it up. Okay, so sitting before me, I have something, but it's curved and it's folding. It's like a structure. It feels kinesthetically like a structure. So visually, visually combined with proprioceptively, it feels like this squished cylinder that I'm in. And then inside of the squished cylinder is like this other thing. And there's this curvature part. It's kind of like a shoe. Interesting. It's almost like a big ring. Let me pull this down. There is an end to it, but analytically or based off a feel, I mean, like this feels like a structure. So let's do an ideogram for this thing, this tangible that I have here. What is this? That gives me straight structure vibes with lots of energetics going on. There's a lot of energy associated with spiraling energy. Okay. Where is the rest of this? 774501. Oh, there is the structure in there. Okay. Let's dive into this and we're going to do, so I just did the S1 of this tangible that we, aspect that we have. Let's do S2 color. I'm seeing like it's like the reflection of space. So you know how like if you think about like the black hole thing, how like it bends space or whatever, it's like this distorted reflection, glossy black purple thing with these specks and stuff on it. But then there's these like analytical overlay flashes of distorted space. Let's go on to textures. I'm getting a phonetic of a loud humming sound, like vibration, loud, low. Back to textures. There's this very cold sense to it, but I think the cold sense is when I put my hand up to it, the thing feels like it's vibrating. So there's a vibration to the kinesthetic feel for texture. What else is... there's like this weird glossy matte to it. I don't think I've felt anything like this, which is odd. So I feel like I felt a lot of stuff psychically. There's these ever so slightly like little dimples, which feel purposeful. Okay, there's a big download of things here where, I don't know if you guys have ever done a cryo chamber, but it's a little bit like a cryo chamber where there's this weird, there's the cylindrical aspect to that, but there's also like all these like little holes that kind of like slowly release coldness out of and like shoots this like little jet into there. I don't know. I did it one time, but then it was showing this other surface thing with all the stuff where I don't know. And it's some sort of like surface diffusion thing that we could maybe get into in the S4. Okay. Anything else with the texture? Very smooth. The dimensional there is curved. Let's go on to smells. Ozone. I have an AOL of Bertie Jaworski Prue saying that anytime that you smell ozone, it's extraterrestrial. And when I did the Area 51 thing, I had ozone. And then every time that I've had like an ET1 as well, I get the smell of ozone. So that's an AOL drive risk that I'm going to mark there. Also, I just got hair standing up on me, so that's creepy. Okay. What do I smell? Anything else? There's this clean. There's the homogeny to it again, where there's this clean sense. Okay, I'm getting eyes. I feel like I'm being watched now. Jesus Christ. Oh, I'm creeped out. Okay. I'm gonna reball. Reball. That is helping. Okay. If I turn around in psychic space, I do feel like I have some entity looking at me. I'm gonna do a whole thing on that later. You sir will have to wait. Let's get back to this. I'm freaking only on smells here. The smells are homogeneous, where there's this clean, crisp, no matter where you go, it's same and consistent. And that is odd. Because like even if you're in a kitchen and like you walk around, like everything kind of modulates a little bit. This feels like over precision smell is what I would say. Taste metallic, which was also like a texture. There's that crisp, precision, consistent, homogeneous thing to taste as well. This is cool. Whatever this is, I like it. Okay. Temperatures. There is a very cold sense to this, but also when I look for temperature, there's also like a vacuuming to void, where there's like an absence of temperature, but very cold to absent of temperature. Sounds. There's the hum, the and then also like a womp 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 sound. What else? Anything else there? Nope. The dimensionals. This feels quite large. Wow. Okay, so this, I mean, it honestly feels like if I bring up Myrtle Beach, where I live, South Carolina, I mean, it feels like the diameter of this thing, which is kind of circular, is like a mile wide and it goes like a mile tall, at least. The thing is quite very large. I want to push it to like 2 to 3 miles, like 2.5, 2.3. Let's douse it. 2.28 miles. Convert that to kilometers, like 5 kilometers or something. I don't know. Cylindrical. It's like a squished cylinder. There's a visual symbolic comparison to the shape of stealth aircraft or something, where it's like a cylinder, but it's squished, you know? I'm gonna have to draw this. And then it also there's a comparison to Daz's flow thing, which is from the movie Arrival, where it's an incomplete ring, right? Where there's like a gap on it. There's kind of a nose to one side. I'm trying to figure out if there's a directional, because I'm seeing this as like vertical, but that's interesting. Okay, so I just did like a gravity check, and this could be AOL drive from the thing I mentioned earlier from Peru. But it does not feel like there is an up or down direction. It feels like it could be like whatever you want, and this thing could be conceptual in nature. So the dimensionals are large. It is a ring, so it's a circle. It's like a squished cylinder circle thing with 2 rounded noses on it. Okay, interesting. I'm also AOLing now. I got a craft in one of another one I did for David, and honestly, I have not had an alien target or anything. I think the last one was early October, so it has been 2 months now that I haven't seen that come across my table. And this has like all the hallmarks of it. So I'm going to try really hard to push that aside. And I don't think, that other target was not that, which is interesting. Anywho, actually, no, it had elements of that, but let's see. Motion. There's some sort of back and forth, like it's mostly one thing, but it feels like AOL of a Dyson. That is a perfect analogy there, where a Dyson fan, right, is that, you know, the shape where like the center is hollow, but it like blows air or something. It's going through this ring. As a great analogy. And that was not analytical. That was some sort of symbolic thing tossed to me from my subconscious. There's motion going through that way, and it feels like this fast suction. It's violent. It's like this violent, fast suction through. And that, I mean, it goes down to this like weird point. And then I think consciously, analytically, I want to say that it goes like higher dimensional or whatever, but I don't really know here. Where does this go? it feels like a focusing of energy, like a net, where like pushes everything to this like one point, and then something happens at that point. There's a weird feeling like it goes into like a sack on like the other side or something. There's like a needle threshold point. I am so freaking creeped out from this target. I'm gonna message David right now. Okay. So that'll be something to dive into too, is like what happens after that. And is there some location through that? It looks like there's some traveling to do here. Through this ring, there's this suction shape that gets created, and then this very specific point in there to dive past. Interesting. How many minutes are we in? We're almost 20 minutes in. Cool. Let me take a sip of water real quick. 20 minutes to get through S2. And the aesthetic impact that I get is this feels adventurous. It feels very adventurous. It AOL's like, I feel like I'm on like an interstellar space journey, which is fun. And that may be AOL drive. So the S3, I mean, like it's kind of what I've been talking about here. I'll go draw all this stuff out after the fact for the project. S4, we have this ring that's here. What is intangible about the ring? There's exfiltration, focusing, energy. What is intangible? AOL of Tesla. What is intangible about this thing? An energy vortex, a point of creation. So it's showing that point. There's something that happens at that point that's of interest. What is intangible about this object? Theoretical or highly advanced with a question mark. Is it in use today? Question mark. It's almost like Giorgio Tsoukalos asking questions, you know, is it possible? What is intangible about this ring? It messes with some high dimensional physics stuff that may have some, it does something with time. So like when you deal with energy on this scale, it's showing like E equals mc squared, where the energy aspect changes. If you change energy, you ultimately change matter. Because c, the speed of light, is constant. So energy equals mass times the speed of light, right? mc squared. Then mass has to change. I just like that GIF from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like connecting all the red dots. There's something about like the little perforated dot things or whatever, and the shape of this vortex tunneling, where it's like 1 + 1 equals, and it's not saying 3, it's like this number that just goes up and up and up and up and just keeps going up, right? Like off into infinity. It's like 0 point energy. I have no idea where that was going. So that's like the energy exfiltration thing where it's doing something like that. Okay, that's what's saying is that when you produce all of this energy, right? Energy is related to mass somehow, or like physical matter. So if you're pulling energy out of nowhere, right? The ether, it's converting like, it's almost like it converts dark matter into physical matter or something. Or maybe the opposite, like physical matter into dark matter and like producing some sort of like thing. I don't know. But it does seem like it's some sort of energy device thing, possibly conceptual because there isn't a direction up or down. That could mean it's in space. It could mean that it doesn't exist. That could be the thing. It could just be conceptual. Is this conceptual? My hand autonomically tells me no. I would get like this circle spiral thing that basically says there's like a story there. There's conceptual thing to it. This is saying that this is like some actual targeted thing, like some sort of technology that's desired. Okay. On the device, the tangible is the perforated dots. What is intangible about the dots? Big download of multiple things. There's like a sheet of paper with all the stuff where it's showing like precision, where everything is just so exact. And it's like all this stuff is releasing at like exactly the same time. And it creates this perfect dance where everything just kicks into motion or whatever. And it's almost like it, as the thing pushes through, which I don't know if it's gas or what it is, whatever. It's almost like kicking a water hose or something. And, you know, like the water pushes through, but then there's more water behind it and all of it pushes through. It's almost like you pushed the energy and more energy came out that was somewhere else, which analytically here would be like higher dimensionally or whatever. There's like more energy going through because you gave it a pathway to do that. And it basically takes all like the little things here of that and focuses them together into something else, like a single stream or whatever. The other thing is like that consistency where just everything is so perfectly consistent without a single flaw that makes me believe that it's conceptual, where it almost seems like it's freaking CAD, where like the precision on everything would literally be like a CAD drawing, right? Where CAD's theoretical. It's just in the computer with precision decimal point numbers, and it's not real. It's almost like that, where there's just absolute precision with this. Yeah, it's absurd. So is there anything else intangible about the dots? The dots have some sort of ring-like shape to them as well, where there's several different things. It's the AOL of the Dyson wind thing. It's the AOL of a wing or whatever, the aerodynamics of that, where there's the AOL of like the shape of like an engine and how it's supposed to suck and stuff. The shape of these like little tiny holes, even though they're very tiny, it's like architected in a specific way to cause a suction or something where, it's like an accelerant. I don't know. AOL of like the little pads in Mario that, like shoot you out or something. The speed boost things. Oh yeah. Anything else with that? Nah. The tangible for the energy shape and how it like vortexes down. How is that curvature happening there? So there isn't like an actual structure that makes this boob-like shape of the energy, but it's the analogy it's giving in my head was like, weren't you saying the energy was associated with matter? And I'm like, yes. And it's like, and matter has what? And it's like gravity. This all happened in like a split second. And then it's like, yes. So like when you're shooting everything forward like a Dyson, if all of those Dyson things shooting forward ended up having mass to it at the end, then all of that mass would be attracted to each other. So as they go forward, they would converge in on like a single point. So that's ultimately what makes the teardrop shape thing going in and connecting to a point. That's pretty cool. Is there anything else intangible about that shape? Not about the shape. We have that final single point at the end. That point feels a little bit like it's almost like the Large Hadron Collider, right? Where like you're slamming particles together. Now, you know how like they kind of just shoot a bunch of shit at each other and then eventually like hope like one hits and they're starting to get better at it. This thing has insane precision, right? So imagine an astronomical number of like little created particles and stuff that like they didn't exist before and now they've popped into existence. And they're all basically running down to the same spot. And we're talking like trillions of trillions of trillions of trillions of trillions in terms of, like scale here. It's like I don't even know how many zeros it would have to be. And all of them hit at the exact same time on the exact same point from this like 3-mile radius down to this thing, right? Where they all like collide at the same point. And then it's like this crazy warp, like, how like the rays from the sun that come out, like those solar flare things that shoot. It's these like light beam things going around and this weird plasma energy thing gets created where like the amount of energy from that is just like fucking absurd. It's like reverse where like you go from energy hidden away from our 3-dimensional reality into physical matter and then back into energy that we can use in the physical world or whatever. That's wild. So there's like some sort of phase transition thing there. This is getting very detailed, which scares me. So that's what that point is. There isn't like something on the other side technically of it. It's like that is the event. But the way that they collide does create this like thing, which I think it has some impact higher dimensionally that is hard to see. Move to the other side and see what's going on there. It's basically like a cosmic fart where these like weird waves of energy stuff like pushing out the other side. It's causing these like weird ripples that are not good. It's not great. It's almost like there's waste that we can't see, but ultimately like what we can't see still affects reality. So it almost feels like it's causing an unknown problem to this whoever's doing this, right? And it's like, there's no issue. There's an issue back there where there's this like mucky energy, leaky waste stuff just not in three-dimensional space. So, testing. Okay, I'm still here. Okay, is there anything else intangible about this? The words, wouldn't it be cool? It would be cool. Does this exist? Honestly, it feels like this exists. Like there's variations of this all over the place. Locally, though, it feels like some crazy experiment thing or whatever. Is this the energy propulsion for UAPs? It doesn't feel like that. It feels like UAPs are something completely different, where it's some sort of like virtual reality blipping, popping thing. But that could be my analytics going on here. I don't know. So let's see. Where can I bring this back to? Let's zoom back out. We have this big ring structure in front of me. I have lots of horrifying faces in front of me. What's going on with that? Oh, I had this guy looking at me. Hey, you come here, plop here. I have this energetic thing that it's like all light. It's kind of forward facing like a dog, but it's human-ish. Well, whatever the thing, dog of heaven or whatever, hound. And it feels like it's some sort of like guard or something where there's rules that are being broken and it's like there to protect it or something. Whatever this is touching on does not want to be found, is what it feels like. Can you speak, being thing? Yeah, I feel like I'm in trouble. What am I in trouble for? This is off limits. Who says it's off limits? Is this associated with the leaky butt stuff? Could be. I think that's what it is. Whatever the energetic impact of it is, it's affecting something else, and I think that's why this thing is here, like all pissed off. Oh, there's that. I don't know. It was the show called Fringe or whatever, where there's like two worlds. It's basically like when you set off a bomb and like this, it's like the other world shakes or whatever, and that there's that impact there, where it's almost like you're stealing energy from one reality and bringing it to the other, and it's causing this interdimensional war conflict thing, which is interesting. Okay, is there anything else that I should do here for this specific target? No, that feels good. Okay. End session, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I feel decent about it. That's 37 minutes. I told David I would do his like hour and a half, 2 hours, 3-4 hours or something on the project. So I will send this over to DP and see if it clicks. Thanks. End session. This is Dave 2 on December 7th, 2024 at 9:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Continuing target 77450131. I've already done one session on it. Kind of same PIs. More talks about my friend Jimmy in between with grief. And the feedback I've gotten so far is that yes, I'm on target with 2 movement commands. Well, 1 movement command and a question. Move into the best position in time and space to observe the target. Why is there the idea of stealth and what is behind it? To go in synchronistic order, on stealth, I had the like, I'm not supposed to be looking at this, as well as talking about like stealth aircraft in the thing. So there's that aspect to it. So I'm going to be diving into like, why is this hidden? And then when I was thinking about the time and space thing, which I shouldn't have been before the session, but I'm just logging it because I did, there was a feeling of, it was like a jellyfish feeling of time, which I don't even know how to describe this, but it feels like it's in the past, but like the past is the future. So there's this bubble indentation thing where like it doesn't actually make logical sense. So we're going to connect back to this and try and make some sense of it. So reconnecting to 77450131. It's quite the analytical mind, AOL of the Philadelphia experiment, which makes sense given the data. Ego, I'm looking at you. I'm going to take this data packet, opening it up. I'm seeing this this time. It's much clearer, but I didn't include this in the drawings, but last time it was like we were in this big cylinder. The cylinder thing is there, but it's kind of like a big trunk that moves around, and then there's this big white thing at the end of it. Maybe that's the whole energy thing that we were talking about in the first place, and I just didn't describe that. I'm gonna put my hands out here for this ring target thing, and I just have to log it. AOL Mind Calendar, cyclical stuff. So we're here. I'm looking at this. I already said last session, there's an aspect to this that doesn't feel real. Specifically, the precision does not feel real because it doesn't seem like it's possible to get that precise. The feedback implies that there is some place in time and space where they at least believe that this thing exists because it's like go to the best place in time and space to observe. So we are going to move to the best position in time and space, move to the optimum position in time and space for us to observe this. The AOL so typically the way this goes for me is I either like slowly move forward directionally, and it's like I'm staying put in place, but like the 3D space around me is like these cube blocks of time. I once experienced this on LSD in my 20s, not anymore, kids. And it's kind of like this cube of space is like a frame in a movie. And then, like I'm fast forwarding that. What happened here is it felt like a wave compression where like I felt like I went forward, but then I shot back, but then it like went under, and I'm like forward, and there's this duality thing of past and future. So I forgot to reball. I'm going to reball. Move to the optimum position to best describe the target. It's this duality thing again playing with me. It feels like the best time is in a couple years, but it's like, why not now? But the time of activity feels like it's in the past. Does that make sense? And there's something to do with negative mass causing time travel dilation. How can you have, I don't believe you can have negative mass, but there's the thing from the session about energy being related to matter and it going from like some sort of energy extraction to matter and then matter colliding back to energy. The phase transition thing, but it's implying that there's some sort of like time thing going on here where like time gets affected. So move to the time in the past. Let's just get that out of our system. Bring that forward. I'm getting these AOL flashes that are kind of funny. It's like all of the evil layers, like warehouse stuff that was always in Austin Powers, where there's these like big machinery places. It's just kind of like that. And then there's like this circular thing that's lying horizontal. It's like a big secretive room thing in some underground bunker government facility. I can't tell if this is AOL or this is not something I feel like I'd imagine, but if it feels like an imagination, but it does not feel like it came from my imagination, if that makes sense. And I'm not seeing this proprioceptively, so it's just on the flashes on the screen. There's an AOL of, on top of that, of the Stargate bunker, like that room. It's kind of that shape, but there's more metal and stuff. But there's basically this metal platform thing with catwalks and whatever. And there's this big cylindrical device that is, that's why it's like, it's a ring. That's why it's like a Stargate. And it's lying horizontal though, instead of vertical. And there's this energy vortex thing going on. That's so much like Stargate. Holy cow. Except for this is horizontal. So taking this whole thing as like a big AOL, we'll just call it conscious interference AOL. Deconstructing it, there is technology, there's people involved. It seems underground is another hidden concept. It feels like there's a secret behind it, like a secretive program or something. That could be why there's stealth. So why is there the idea of stealth behind this? The consciously overlaying this analytically. Stealth it's basically saying like there's some sort of effort that is not public, that's kept away from the public, that's hidden. This is saying it's like some government secret program, like the secret Stargate program. Stargate as in like the TV show SG-1 in the movie, not Stargate, the RV stuff. Let's just go back. I feel like lost in psychic space again, so I'm gonna do 77450131. That's cool. I got like the horizontal spiral thing, but then it like went to one side and then slashed a line through it that kind of made it look like a spiral galaxy with like one of those energy lines through it, like an exploding star or something. Open this up. Okay, we're back here with the big ring and move to the optimum position in time and space to observe. Let's go do an S4, stage 4 with the transcription. Just some quick S2 data, metallic, smooth. This is just making contact with the target. Curved, cylindrical, large, very cold. The humming sound, buzzing, womp, 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 womp. Smell of ozone, all that stuff. The sound of gas releasing, like piston sounds. The dimension or the motion of going forward and stuff. All the precision points, the precision's crazy. Here we have the element where I said that it felt like it was bending time and space. Like that was like the color was that where it felt like it was hidden away or something. Like it looked like a black hole, right? Where that bends time and space. That's an element of stealth. Is there any emotional impact at the target location? I do feel like there is a sense of fear. There's a sense of dread, like, am I going to die? It's like that intense, where you're in just absolute awe at the sheer power of something. And it could kill you in a second, like you have no idea. The aesthetic impact that I get from this, I'm AOL driving on Stargate. Okay. And then this is the tangible thing. Why is stealth an intangible? What is stealthy about it? I don't feel like I have great contact here or something. What is stealth about the target structure, perceived structure, hidden from view? It brought it back to the Philadelphia experiment, I believe, because it showed not on the screen, but in my proprioceptive space, there is the shape of a boat and what I would assume is water, but it was very like milk-shaped 3D blender-esque looking, because the water was kind of like this thing that was bobbing. And then I think it was in the Philadelphia experiment when all the time stuff happened, that was all like messed up and like whatever they did, right? I think they were actually just trying to shield it, right? They were just trying to make the ship invisible, but not like actually invisible. I'm getting creeped out again right now. Not actually invisible, but like invisible to radar, right? And ultimately, like we know like the whole story of like what happened or what supposedly happened with the Philadelphia experiment. But that they were trying to like produce a stealth technology with that. And it ultimately resulted in this like weird time contraption thing due to like the magnetics or whatever. Okay, so I just have to record it. There's a phonetic voice thing that was like, and we never hear about like what the object was that was creating it, or do we hear? I don't know the full story behind it, but it's almost like we're supposed to like look into the device or whatever of the Philadelphia experiment, and that's why there's this jump of time stuff, because like that's what they claim is it was like the time jump travel thing where like the whole ship moves and stuff, right? And like you're in the past, it feels like it's the 40s or something. I don't know when it was, but it feels like it's like 1946, like the late 40s or something. And then it feels like it jumps forward in time. God damn, the hairs on my arms are standing up and I am so creeped out and I'm reballed. Why? We'll have to probe into like why I feel so creeped out. This is nuts. Holy cow. jump forward in time and then like jump back to the present or something. And that's the wave motion of the time perspective where I'm feeling that. If we move and it's doing, okay, so the time movement was kind of like I described of the 3D blocks where it moves forward. And that forward point in time or whatever, it's not like it really sits there. It's more like it's coming in and out of reality, but like each one of them is not. Also, I'm just describing this one big, massive AOL of the Philadelphia experiment, by the way, but I'm just logging everything that comes to mind, being a good observer. It's not like it ever like popped out the other side, which is what that's what the last session implied too, that it wasn't like it went somewhere. You know what I mean? Interesting. Okay. Is that the reason why there's the stealth thing? Is that it actually was a stealth technology? I'm just asking like two specific questions now that I don't think go well with this. So we have the secret government program thing. There's the energy aspect to it. But then it's like, energy makes fields and like energy is non-localized. And it's comparing it to the way that electricity works. Everybody thinks that electricity is like flowing electrons, but there's a great video on YouTube from, I forget the guy's name. It starts with a V, but he basically explains how the electricity involves works in fields, not just like electrons moving. It's not that simple. It's actually the field. And that explains my electromagnetic hypersensitivity, how I can feel it. Because like when you're away from the wall, yeah, that's how it's working. There literally is a field that is being created, and that's what I feel and pick up on. It's basically saying that there's like a field that gets generated. So at the moment that all this stuff gets shot from these particles or whatever, or energy thing going to this point, that thing produces a sphere of energy. And I am just chills, man. Holy crap. This feels like the setting off all of the alarms at the base in Grand Theft Auto when I go. I always say this every time I like break in like to a UAP or something. Oh man, dude. Breaking into the base in Grand Theft Auto and stealing the fighter jet or something, like where everything's just staring at you. Ah, heebie-jeebies. Okay, so don't be a pussy. So it feels like that field that gets generated, which is some sort of electromagnetic wave thing or whatever, does that it creates a very large sphere. So yeah, there's a very large sphere around that. Very large. Much larger than the device itself. And that's the answer to stealth has many facets to it. So it seems like there's the secret, some sort of the intangibles would be like, actually, yeah, like the motive behind, like if we have a structure here, then there's creators, and we could go probe the creators for like, that's a whole session that wasn't asked for, but we could do that. I know my brain is like dropping down because I am losing my train of thought. This is where having a monitor would be helpful. Stealth is that there could be a government program, something secret. The tangibles would be that it would be like a governmental secret program, that type of stuff, secretive, that's stealthy. But then there's this other aspect where it's technological, and the technological produces some element of something. So the field that expands around this ring or whatever, it expands much farther than the ring, but it's basically showing that it, whatever's inside of it, like technically it has that bubble around it. So that's quite interesting. This bubble of energy. How have 24 minutes gone by? I don't even know what I've been talking about. Do I have missing time? That's crazy. Okay. I think that answers it, and I will package this up. If I were to end the session now, what would I regret most? It feels like most of the data has been extracted that could be extracted. It's saying it could dive into the creators of this, or like the other parties. They're not directly associated with the tasking, but like there's an applied assumption of that per se, that there is some sort of intelligence that we could probe into behind this. There's also that event that is past and future, could probe into that. That seems to be some sort of thing of relation to this. which AOL is just the Philadelphia experiment. Maybe there's something like that. That'd be cool. And that whole thing could go be explored independently as well. Okay, I'm just going to call it end session because this is pretty shit. I'm going to do one more drawing and then, yeah, thanks. End session, 9:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is Dave 2 on December 8th, 2024 at 7:15 a.m. doing 77540131. I have 2 more probes. Can you probe that past and future event that you mentioned? And what did the creators want to do with that field technology? So I'm going to get started here. I just woke up, a little vibratory. I can see through my eye mask. Not that the eye mask has anything, but it's like blind sight. So I'm having to block all of the things on my desktop. So it's black. Cool. This is relatively good. Which one should I go with first? The creators and what they wanted to do with it? Okay. 774501. So the ideogram was the thing before, but now with the added, what did they want to do with it? There's a lot of energy, and I got some like swirly things for life. So we have this device, move to the optimum position that would best allow me to interact and describe the creators real quick. That's interesting. It's like a proprioceptively in front of me, flat, but kind of not flat, like it's almost like we're outside. AOL, the movie Prometheus, the opening scene with that like weird, super shredded pale dude who jumps off a waterfall or whatever. It's kind of the opposite scene of that, but the ground is, so there's a land gestalt, but it's kind of uneven. And then there's this person standing slightly to my left in the foreground. And behind them is like this, it's like a mound or something. It's like they're standing in front of a mountain. Is the mountain symbolic in some sort of way? I think there's something to the mountain that could be S-Ford. This is really like, who is the creators? And the question is, what do they want to do with it? So maybe I'm not even supposed to be here, but let's pull this person up. You. I mean, this is weird because this is like a, it's an AOL of like a old Asian man with like one of those curly mustache things, maybe like a Japanese dude. But it's kind of like a Western mystical occult. This is the exact opposite of what I was expecting. And he's wearing a robe and holding a staff. It looks like the builders have added him, but with a staff. Is this a cloak or something, or some sort of weird disguise? Pull you forward. I could S to it, but I mean, it's a conceptual representation of the person, not like, or thing or entity, whatever this is that created it. It's not actually a thing. So they're wearing this robe. Gonna do like a probe. Actually, we could do like a TDS conscious map. If I even remember what those probes are. Conscious condition. I just had an AOL of the Cypher podcast. There was an episode with the moon where there's like a race of advanced beings, but they basically committed cosmic suicide. So the conscious condition of this person reminds me of someone who would be like highly intellectual with very clear, precise thoughts, clear mind, clear focus. But there's some sort of pending problem, which usually is what somebody of intellectual capacity has, that there is the object of their focus. And that causes some sort of worry or concern. So they have good, clear thoughts and stuff, but there's some sort of external factor that is undeniable that they're associated with. Which, I mean, honestly, could be literally anything, because that is the state of life, right? We're all always focusing on some sort of external factor. The conscious thoughts they're thinking of, how are you going to what? How am I going to get this thing working? There's a fleeting thought of race against time, but it felt like it might not be accurate. It's mostly just like math, sciencey stuff about, this. Also, like, redo the intent to ensure that we are doing the conscious or the mind map based off of their association with this target structure thing, the energy thing. Yeah, it's just deep focus on this thing. Unconscious condition. This just feels like a highly achieved or highly evolved being. I mean, it feels on par with, it feels more precise and more clean than Tesla. If you were to do like a conscious map of Tesla, it's like more crisp and pristine than that, which is why it goes back to that Prometheus AOL, where there's that like weird perfect specimen thing. Yeah. Unconscious condition. It's just this like neutral, happy, content, almost like Buddhist-like thing. Unconscious thoughts. Seems like unconscious thoughts have a lot of fears. Fear of failure, fear of dangers. It's like that's where all of the worry is unconsciously. I don't even know if any of that was helpful, but thank you. While we have you here, is there anything that you can tell me about this device? Just talking directly to them. Something about the energy output. Okay, I just had like 8 things pop into my head at one time, so I'm going to call it a download. It feels like there is some sort of, in the first session we were talking about 0-point energy harnessing, trying to make something very efficient without sort of any side effects like we talked about with the cosmic fart, where there's some sort of energetic side effect in some other dimension thing that, you know, like we don't experience, but it actually does affect some sort of level of reality. And it seems like one of the unexpected side effects was this field, right? So like you shoot electrons through a wire, you're like, I'm shooting electrons through a wire. You don't expect there to be a field that gets generated, right? So it feels like that field that I described in the second session was unexpected, and then that led into 2 different ones, which was like an electromagnetic pulse thing, like a bomb that, you know, shuts everything down. There's that AOL of like, I think it's a Disney movie called like Little Soldiers or something from the 90s. I'm a 90s kid, so where they drop some sort of bomb and like electricity like takes all the little soldier people out and everything stops working, but on like a massive scale, like planetary or something, that causes that, or a Carrington event. So the Carrington event would be some sort of big solar flare. Those are both metaphorical AOLs of the field or whatever, where it's some massive thing. Guess we could deconstruct what those mean, because this is all implying not good stuff. Even back to the Philadelphia experiment, one of the things I thought about afterwards was that there was the element of catastrophe. It did not go as planned. And this is kind of what he's saying. Oh, I already lost the download. I was trying to go through it and explain it with the field. The field was unexpected. Is there an actual explosion of sorts? No real explosion, but you don't need an explosion. There's an AOL of a microwave, and how like with a microwave there is no explosion, but ultimately like if you cook food cells in there, it heats up the liquid inside the cell and makes the cells explode. That is dark. So basically saying that, you know, things do explode and get burned and stuff, but basically due to the nature of this field. What were you trying? Let's get straight to the point. What were you trying to do with the field? Maybe he already said it because he seems annoyed. Harnessing the energy output. If it feels like the goal is some sort of alignment with on par with nuclear power. Yeah, it seems like there's all that precision stuff where you have this thing that just produces endless amounts of energy as long as it's on, right? And it produces more than it consumes. So it's I forget what those devices are called, but yeah, 0-point energy. Rube Goldberg machine. Yeah, I mean, everything from this, it appears to be like a male person thing. Everything about them kind of implies that this is a intended energy harnessing technology. The field produces something that, like, the field might be problematic. For me, with electricity, for example. But so what happened in my head was I say that, and then all of a sudden, like, I get like a visual flash over to my wall over here. There's some sort of line that must be twisted because the electromagnetic field is like over 100, which is high for a house. And if I'm within like 4 feet of it, I can feel it and like I start tingling. And it's basically like there's like an unexpected negative side effect. So that field does seem bad or whatever. That's good data to me because it's in opposition to the whole Philadelphia experiment thing where they were trying to produce a field on purpose. Can you show me how this energy would be used? It's basically like everything. Powering society, powering a city. I do feel like there's like advanced flying crafts and stuff, but I mean, that could just be AOL Drive here because this is like out there energy propulsion technology or energy technology stuff. So it also said the negative mass thing. And negative mass. So what went on my head is it's still going. So essentially saying that if this device produces massive amounts of negative matter, which came up in the last one, then negative matter would have like an opposite polarity to regular matter, and it's essentially anti-gravity. So in addition to energy, it can be used as an anti-gravity propulsion device. I mean, this is all part of something. I mean, we're painting a pretty broad stroke here, where don't usually like that in a remote viewing session, because then you could just slap it on any target and be like, oh, wow, look, they've hit. So it's saying that the flying craft that I see, powered by it, like a small version of it, but also that there's some sort of like showing like the bottom of like a tier 3B or whatever, and the multiple circle things, that the circle things are these devices that are producing energy in a field. I mean, that goes in opposition to the whole field being bad thing, though. So there's contradictory data in here. I don't know whether to trust it. Okay. Anything else you can tell me about the use for this energy? Just everything. So cities, things, small, large, travel, the like the replacement of like a nuclear power plant or whatever. And by energy here, though, we're just talking about some sort of energy, not electrical energy. Yes. Energy as in like kinesthetic momentum stuff. Okay. And lots of it. Like puts nuclear power to shame. So what was the other probe? I'm going to do a separate session for that. That'll be, can you probe the past and future event that you mentioned? And I'm going to call it end session. This is Dave 2 on December 8th, 2024 at 7:56 a.m. I am doing session number 4 of target 7745-0131. I am going to be probing into the past and future event that I described. So in the first session, possibly second session, there was this event that occurred, the second session, and it produced a jellyfish-like effect on time where it pushed me forward in time, but then went back. But it was ultimately a dichotomy of being in two places at one time, which was cool. 7741 or 7745-0131. This, the feeling is, I feel like my whole body just went jello or mosaic or something, where it kind of went all Picasso and like bends and stuff. AOL, what I imagine inside of like being in a Stargazer or something would be like, as you're like traveling through the thing, as your body's like all like messed up or whatever. That's not even how it's supposed to work, but okay. Take this crazy energetic thing, the thought form out of it, a data packet. We have this. Move to the primary event associated with the structure of interest. Move to the optimum position of it for us to describe. So I'm seeing the device thing move. I forgot to reball again. I'm going to reball real quick. Reball is my protection shield thing. So I'm seeing the device horizontal. It kind of looks like it's that facility where it's on like the square platform thing. The thing is on. To me, I feel the field, right? Like I feel the intensity of that. It causes my eyes to have pressure. There's this weird shaking sensation where everything seems to kind of be like shaking back and forth between like two different states or something. I don't know why, but it feels like radiation. And I'm not sure if radiation photography or when you're filming something that's radioactive, if it's like that or whatnot. But yeah. So it seems like the thing is on, and it feels like there's this weird zapping, like zoop sound, and these kind of like cyanic colors and flashes and stuff. It's basically that room that I had drawn in the last session. And above on the walls and stuff, there's like flashes and stuff, almost like the Stargate portal, where, like it's kind of mirrory or whatever and flashing and everything. And it feels like it's building and building and building and building. So what's happening is it feels like there's supposed to be a steady state thing with the device where it just is a steady state. Obviously, if you, this is data, not like me analyzing, but obviously if you are producing output, there has to be some sort of extraction. So like if you produce it, but you don't harness it, then it doesn't matter that you're producing the energy. My subconscious is telling me that that's incorrect, because if you took data from a higher dimensional aspect that did not exist in this 3-dimensional realm, and then you bring it into here and you just put it into here, it's basically saying like you've injected energy into the environment. So say like you have a smaller experiment, like a closed loop. It's showing like it's like, let's use a slow motion of a pool table or something where all this stuff is bouncing around, or like one of those things that they teach you in high school with particles and stuff bouncing around in a closed environment. But then you're kind of like from the outside and like the 3D flatland thing, and then you inject some more energy into it. It's saying you've still injected energy into the environment that was no longer there. So the sum is no longer 100. It's like 110, 150, whatever you've added to that area. You're adding new stuff to it. So there's that aspect where then like now the energy that you could harness instead of it being 100 is like 110, 150, but you still have to go harness it another way. But are you just being snarky? Yeah. Yes, it seems like there might have been like a failure in the energy extraction, which led to a buildup. I'm getting a head nod. Yes. So there was the tiny cylinder line thing that I had mentioned before, which I was wondering if that was like a portal to like another thing or something. That feels like there's some like weird quantum tube technology thing where like these tubules vibrate and the vibration gets transferred into energy or something. Or, well, it's basically like you just have to get it in a form, chemical, electrical, something that you can harness and use. It's basically showing it like malfunctioning, wearing out something. So now that energy doesn't have anywhere to go. So as it just keeps producing and producing and producing, it's going on that thing. And then kind of like the flood analogy thing where like I mentioned this where it's like you puncture a hole to get some water through and then more water comes through behind. It seems like a shutdown procedure thing occurred, but you have to wait for everything to come through. AOL of shutting off a Stargate, the Stargate doesn't shut off immediately. It like the rest of everything that's coming behind it still has to come through. So all that comes through and that produces this event is crazy. So everything kind of goes quiet and stuff, but it's a little funhouse mirror like where everything kind of like bends and contracts. And that moment there feels like a compression wave thing with time and space and everything's distorted and yeah, interesting. I had something like that in my news event thing, but that was in for the 5th and we've already passed it. Where these like multiple waves passing each other. It's a little bit like that and like going back and forth or something. And it feels like that's the time affecting bubble phenomenon thing that was created. And also with that, it feels like that's the thing that is Philadelphia experiment like, where the result is it actually changes physical matter. So there's this weird blob field thing. It's not plasma. It's this like weird thing where when it goes through, it just changes things dramatically, Picasso-like. So it's almost like if you tossed it at a concrete building, the whole concrete building would be like turned to jello or whatever. And it now is following, it's like space, like the Einstein, like you drop something, all of the lines that would have been straight are now curved. and the matter in that like readapts to it. And then once the field's gone, it stays in that weird position. So everything gets like distorted and it's chaotic, and like to beings like us, it would be absolutely 100% fatal. It's like a whole different type of bomb going off. That's the other AOL. There's the movie from J.J. Abrams. It came out right after Super Bowl sometime, but they're like in a space station. There's some sort of catastrophe thing that happens up there, and then somebody's in the wall. And I think that was that whole story arc, and that was based off of the Philadelphia experiment. But that's popped up a couple times if I didn't mention it. I don't think it did. So it feels like there's some sort of Chernobyl of the past and future. This all is basically as for intangible. We have the tangible thing is the structure. The tangible thing is there is this perceived event that occurred. The event occurred in the past. I think I'm just anchored to that 1940s timeline. I think that's AOL, as I put in the question mark thing. I think that's AOL drive from the Philadelphia experiment thing, which I don't even remember when that was. But the event was in the past. It had this shot out bubble to the future. Is there anything about the future event, or is the future event a past event? I mean, so that weird plasma bubble thing, it's showing it like popping out in different times and stuff, but having this ripple effect for what feels like 100 years or something, where it's kind of popping out in various spots, but it causes that distortion. And then it's basically saying these are glitches or Mandela effects, where it produces these, I thought it was this, but it's actually that. And it's messed with just the fabric of time and space. So it kind of shows it, like it can pop out in like one little spot, and then that same sort of weird messing up thing it does somewhere else, but on like a much lesser expression. So the difference between like standing next to the radioactive thing and getting like a small dose of it, there's like small doses elsewhere. And it just feels like a scrambling of reality. There are like 8 symbolical AOL things that are trying to get shoved down the pipe right now. One of them is there's a scene from the show Stargate SG-1 where there's some sort of energy thing. And I think that's the one where Andrew Jackson dies. He goes in and shuts off the device to save the people or something. And that's ultimately like when he ascends, because he sacrificed himself to save an entire civilization. That's one of the AOLs. What was the other one that was prominent in there? It's gone. Can you deliver me that data packet again, please? I should have listened the first time. I know. I'm trying here. So it's kind of saying that you have your answer. We've answered the question, which was, can you probe the past and future event? There isn't really a future event. It's more like the effects of stuff popping out for moments at a time into the future. It feels like the span of 100 years. The timeline in the past I'm giving still feels like the 40s, but I don't really know. Didn't know before, don't know now. There's that event in the past where this device is doing that. There seems to be some sort of malfunction. At AOL, is that scene in Stargate. It appears to be there was a failure in the energy extraction, resulting in a buildup. That buildup resulted in some sort of thing of space and time collapsing in on itself, just from there being like too much energy at one point, that it basically does some weird hypercubic folding of itself and like warps everything. And that causes a ripple effect across time. It seems very catastrophic. We didn't get how widespread that was at the time there, but it feels like a really big issue, like bigger than Chernobyl or like the Hanford nuclear reservation thing. It feels much larger, like it affected way outside of this, where this thing is. Obviously affected through time, but I'm trying to get like a scale of that. One thing to do would be to geolocate this. I don't even know if this is on Earth. So it's like showing me off the west coast of Central America in the Pacific. I don't know about that. The other thing with the Philadelphia experiment was the water aspect of it. So maybe there is something there that I'm ignoring. For some reason, like the word Chile, which the country down there, has dissatisfied the tasker. You probe more into the location of this. I don't feel like I have a good hit on the location. And I feel like if I try and probe for the location, then I'm just going to end up, it's a void that's there. And if I try and describe it, I'm going to be trying to describe it rather than observing. So I don't feel like I'm in an observing seat enough. I feel like my conscious mind wants to come fill the blanks here because there's blanks and I'm just not getting that data. Let's try ideogram for the location. Getting kind of the same thing. It's almost in like the indent where Central America and South America kind of go kind of out there somewhere. I'll like pull up Google Maps and X marks the spotted or something. Douse it for there. So like the logical question there is this under the water. I mean, I'm getting like crazy. Should I just lean into this? We're going to trust everything with a grain of salt here. But I'm seeing these like kind of large waves, like 10-foot waves splashing over this thing, right? And ultimately there's this thing that's floating. It's got like 4 different pods floating on the surface. And they're going up and down, almost like, you know, how we think about harnessing electricity using waves. They're going up and down and bobbing with the ocean, but ultimately it's keeping this square facility thing rather in place. And it's like some gigantic cooling thing because there's some sort of like steam bubbling aspect occurring from it. Oh, so the basically what I'm seeing is that there's this like large square facility thing that's being kept up like that. This device is inside of this facility, that this device thing is being run out here in the ocean somewhere. It's producing lots of power. And then it's like there's a line that drops all the way straight down. And that, like, once it hits the bottom there, it like branches off into like a bunch of different other lines. So these would be like power lines or something that go off to like various directions from it. Okay, I will go draw all of that. Is there anything else that I would regret not reporting in this session? Saying you've tapped out all of that. And yeah. All right. It is 8:20 a.m. I'm going to call it end session.